Good evening. I'm pretty pumped about this one tonight. It's one that I wanted to talk about for a while. You know, one of the questions that I often get from a lot of my clients' affirmation in their leadership is, Steve, how do I show up now? How do I show up differently? What does that look like for me now? And what does showing up truly mean? And we're going to find out. We're going to talk about that right now, right after these messages. Well, hello and welcome to Retail Leadership. This is the live stream podcast for retail leaders. And one of the things that we know is that the idea about retail leaders is that they impact everybody, every day, all around the world. The goal of this live stream, the goal and what we want you to take out of this is that we are truly tired. We are tired of leaders. Those leaders really not stepping into their purpose. Those leaders who are okay with being the leader that others think that they should be. Our mission is to help you to become the leader you have always wanted to be. And that forward. Tonight, we are going to be talking about how to show up. How do you show up differently? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you professionally? I think they're one and the same. I think they're one and the same. we're going to talk about a couple of different things. Really going to talk about three keys to what it means to actually show up. If you are looking at this on Facebook, whether it's on YouTube, this is interactive. I ask that you provide any questions, any comments, or anything. I will take time out during this live stream to answer any of your questions or to put your comments up as well as we continue to move through this. But one of the aspects of this live stream that I wanted to make sure that I spoke about is that we often have questions from our viewers, and I wanted to actually make this sort of a segment, if you will, from our live stream. And one of the questions that we often get, not just via the live stream, but kind of throughout our process of what we've been kind of going through, whether it's from where we went from Worthy Leadership Group to right now with Worthy RETAIU, is that what's the significance of your logo? So Mallory Lizette, she used to work for me when I worked for Target years ago, and she has moved into this realm of being a graphic designer and very talented young lady. And she sent me this idea of like, Steve, what do you want your brand to stand for? And I said, well, leadership. And she was like, well, that's super duper broad, man. You got to figure this thing out. You got to go a little deeper than that. And what I realized is that one, I have a pretty decent last name. I actually really like my last name, Worthy. I really do. I know I apologize if that seems a little bit kind of high-minded, but I apologize. But I actually kind of like my last name. I think it's pretty cool. But the other thing that I realized about leadership is that all the leaders that I've come across, even myself included, is that we didn't start out the way that we are now. We've had to go through a process. We've had to go through a discovery process, a process of pressure, a process of kind of understanding who we are, who we don't want to be. Those leaders that have come into our lives that we thought were amazing, and we realized that they weren't amazing. We've gone through those periods where we have been leaders that have been amazing at what we can say and articulate and what we can do. And then we have been in those moments where we have been horrible as leaders. So the diamond is something that I feel has gone through such an iterative process to get to where it is. And even when they say a diamond is flawless, I don't believe it. I believe a diamond still has flaws. And I think the same thing about us as leaders. We can continue to go through this process of self-discovery, of understanding and growing. However, we still have flaws. And it's okay. I had a guy that I was mentoring one time. I think I've shared this story before. We were in a coffee shop. I don't know if you guys remember those. Actually, you should remember those. They're opening back up. This is years ago. And we were in a coffee shop and we're talking, and I'm just talking and telling them stories about different leadership things. And he says, Steve, do you realize that about 85% of the time the stories that you tell me are about when you failed or you missed the mark? And I'll be honest with you, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about when I was having those times and speaking to him about things that he was going through and telling them different stories about me. How many of you always talk about the good stuff? How many of you always talk about the greatness of what you've accomplished? How many of you do that? I'm telling you right now, if you are not talking about those opportunities and those times when you have failed and you have missed the mark, you are missing it with leadership. You are missing it 100% with leadership. Live stream is for us to unveil and kind of peek behind the mask, if you will, for those different things that we will talk about. And so said all of that to say is that our logo is encompassing of that. My last name, if you will, and then also the iterative process and growth process that a diamond goes through and that I feel that a leader goes through as well. So if you are looking at this on YouTube, I ask that you, if you're not a subscriber already, I ask that you subscribe to my channel. It's at Steve Worthy, but it's you can see it. It's a Worthy RETAIU as well. I ask that you go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We just put a kind of a cool little video out, and it just talks a little bit about the behind the scenes. A guy, actually, he's in the chats right now. In the comments, I'm going to put his name up there right now in a little bit. William Smith has been a massive inspiration for me as I've gone through this iterative process of learning, to live stream and do videos. So he was a massive inspiration behind that. But videos that are going to be coming out that we know that are going to hit the mark with you and with who you are and what you need, right? I often think when you look at YouTube and you think about videos, they should be, yes, something there. It's about YouTube. It's about you and your life and my leadership and different things. But I often think about those channels that are missing the mark. And we want to make sure that we are providing content that's going to be value added to you as well. And then lastly, if you are looking at this on Facebook, we ask that you hit the like button or join our group. It is Worthy RETAIU. We do a lot of leadership coaching. We do some videos. We do some posts. I'm going to start doing a little bit more kind of Q&A in those in our Facebook group. I also ask if you are willing to come on the live stream as a guest. Those individuals who are in our Facebook group, please let me know. Leave a comment or do something to kind of let me know that you are interested in actually being a part of our live stream process as well. All right. So what I want to do before we move into the little bit of the agenda, I do want to say hello to a few people who have been out here as well. What's up, Walter? How you doing, big guy? I appreciate you being here. I really do, man. I really do. And this is the gentleman, Mr. William Smith. If you haven't checked out his channel, go ahead and check out his channel. His audio quality is crazy good. Thank you. Thank you so much, William. I really appreciate that, man. And Mr. Spoke Audio, Robert Reed. Thank you. It is great, isn't it? I appreciate that. And Robert Spoke Audio is going to be, and I'll have more about this probably on Sunday, but he's going to be a guest on the live stream coming up on July 7th. And I am super, super excited. He has absolutely the best name for a podcast. I thought Retail Leadership with Steve Worthy was pretty cool. But his podcast is called Never Call Me Again. That's it. It speaks to me on so many different levels, but the cool factor of his podcast and what he talks about and who he is, more importantly, speaks volumes for that name. And that name kind of speaks exactly to who he is as a person. Not so much to Never Call Me Again, but the audacity of the name and who he is as a person. I'm excited to kind of speak to him and have him on the show as well. And then Shantae, thank you. Peace be unto you, Steve Worthy, and everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. And then, if you're lucky, you'll learn from these failures, right? If you're really lucky, you'll learn from others' failures. Oh, I could not agree. I could not agree more. Once again, if you have any more comments or any thoughts or anything that you guys want to share, please don't hesitate as we kind of move through this process, because once again, I want to hear from you as we move through this. So a little bit about the agenda that I'll just kind of walk through. It kind of did a little bit of the welcome. What is showing up? And we're going to talk a little bit about beliefs, your thoughts, and your actions, because I honestly believe those are truly the key to everything that you kind of go through. So what is this idea about showing up? What does that mean? It means something different, I think, to a lot of people. In April, was it April? Yes. In April, I went through this process. It's called LIDA, and it's called Live Each and Every Day in April. Most of you have been on this journey with me as I've been trying different things out, whether it's been in the group, whether it's been in my Facebook or whatever it is. I have been trying to figure this live stream piece out and was learning a lot of different things, and I realized that I needed something a little bit more audacious. And so what I did was I signed up for this thing. It was, once again, it was called LIDA. and it's live each and every day in April. And so I went live each and every day inside this group, 30 days straight. I went live. And I got to tell you, it actually helped me with my confidence to actually show up. One of the things that they talked about was whenever you're showing up, whenever we see people, let me ask you this question. How many of you have seen that person on stage? Seen that person get a leadership conference, it could be at church or it could be somewhere, and you see that person, you look at them and you're like, man, that dude, that gal, they are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Like they are right in it. And I have seen that happen or seen that with different people so many different times. And I wonder, did they ever struggle with some of the same things that I did? The fear of showing up, this idea that people are going to judge me for what I have to say or what I don't have to say, or my accent or whatever it may be, right? All these different things, or me saying right like I just did. All these different things. So Lita helped me with that idea. And what they did was they talked a little bit about this alter ego. This alter ego is somebody that's already inside of you that just needs to come out. And we talked about it in the context of your content and who it is that you want to present. And so I came up with this alter ego. This will lead into, I came up with this alter ego, and his alter ego was called Show Up Steve. Because there were several times in my life that I didn't show up. Several times that I didn't step up to the plate where I felt called to do something and I shrunk in those moments. And I realized that those were golden opportunities for me to share whatever it was that I've had inside of me with other people. And the lack or the fact that I did not show up, those people did not hear what I had to say. And I could have possibly, and this sounds really kind of like big, right? I could have possibly changed somebody's life by what I had to say or move them into a different direction but I didn't show up, so it didn't happen. And so creating a little bit of that alter ego, so to speak, from a live standpoint has helped me more so than you think. But I want to move into something that this isn't the fundamentals or the foundation of this was from a fellow coach, and it was called a 2X identity. And Kristen Martin is her name. She is a coach of coaches, and she is outstanding. And one of the things that we talked about during our coaching sessions was around this 2X identity. How do you show up for your clients? What does that look like when you show up for your clients, right? How does it look when you prepare for your client? How does it look when you sit down, review the previous information for your client, review the data, understanding where that person is, and then you show up? Do you show up disheveled? Do you show up unprepared for your client? And I thought about that in the context of putting a framework together for my clients and their ability, once they are doing something different, how to help them show up differently. And I'm going to do this in real time right now because I see this is up here, and I'm going to move that down because I can do that because this is live and I'm all right with doing that. So the idea of what does it mean to show up, and the 2X identity is really about three different things. And we're going to talk about these three keys right now here in a second. I just want to make sure that I'm connected with everybody here in the chat. Of course, there we go. I want to make sure I'm connected with everybody. And then Randy, never call me again. Never call me again in and of itself piques interest. 100%. You are completely correct. Hello, Anna. How are you doing? I love the topic. as a leader of new generation of new generation, it's not all about the great stuff. Sometimes what they want to hear is how we learn from our failures. 100%, 100%. And once again, thank you. Awesome topic. And thank you, Shantae, showing up. I love that. Show up, Steve. That's right. And my man, Walter, thank you. Every time I tune into your life, I have a whole new sense of clarity. Oh, dude, I did not pay him to say that. And I appreciate that so much. So let's move into the three keys, the three factors. And I'm going to try my best to keep everything to an hour tonight. So here's the thing. And I know some of you get this already. Some of you may get this, that I'm going to actually go ahead and do. Once again, this is live, and I'm going to go ahead and do this because I can, and I'm okay with doing it this way. Put my face on screen. So your beliefs beget your thoughts, and your thoughts beget your actions. This is the premise. This is the premise of identity shift. The shift is from where you currently are to where you want to be. Everything that I talk about, everything that I deal with, I look at it from a very simplistic standpoint. And those of you who are in business or have been in project management or things along that line, and I'll talk, maybe I'll talk a little bit about this on another program as well, is a gap analysis. And what that is that you talk about your current state, where you currently are, your current state, where you currently are to your ideal state of where you want to be. And then you talk about the gap, the middle. That's the piece that gets you to your ideal state. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing when we talk about your beliefs, your thoughts, and your actions. Your beliefs are where you right now, your current state. What do you think about yourself? Your actions are the things that are your ideal state, the things that you want to manifest and you want to actually do. But your thoughts are that gap, because your thoughts will dictate what your actions are. But fundamentally, your beliefs are where we need to start, And we're going to start with your beliefs. And hopefully you're following me. If you're tracking with me, please let me know if you're tracking with me as well. Oh my goodness. I have to say hello to Dana. Thank you so much, Dana. I agree with Anna. I've had the opportunity to hear some of your struggles as a leader when you were my boss. Always learned a lot about being vulnerable as a boss. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dana. I always knew you were going to be an amazing person. You were already an amazing person, but I knew you were going to be an amazing boss as well. And that's exactly what you are. Super analytical. Dana, I'm gonna dote on her for a second. I'm gonna dote on Dana for a second. Dana was that individual, who read everything, right? Those of you who have teams, right? You all have different players in your team. Ideally, you can appreciate all the different things that the people on your team have to offer. And if you don't, then you're not going to be a great leader. You're not going to be successful. Dana was the super analytical, read everything. Sometimes I would not read some of the processes and procedures and new things that were coming out. So guess who I would call? Hey, Dana. Hey, walk me through so-and-so. And then she would walk me right through it. So I just loved her for what she brought to the team, which was something completely different than some of her peers did as well. So you have to appreciate those people on your team. So your beliefs. What do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? Man, this is the critical part, the critical element for everything that we talk about kind of going forward. We're going to talk about your thoughts and your actions, but your beliefs. What do you believe about yourself? What are your beliefs made of? So your beliefs are formed in two ways: our experiences, inferences, and deductions, things that we've actually been able to deduce in a certain situation about ourselves and how we react, and how we either overcome or how we fall by the wayside. And then number two, the accepting of what others tell us to be true. And I should have put about ourselves. And I'm going to keep going because I'm going to further this point, but I would just want to make sure that I talk about every point in here. Our core beliefs are formed when we're children. Our parents and environment play a big part in molding our beliefs from a very young age until we become an adult. Our experiences and our deductions. Our experiences and our deductions. Wow. I mean, how many of you have been in a situation and you don't know why you act a certain way, or how can I say this? How when a certain situation hits you and it's uncomfortable, you react in a certain way, and you really haven't done the work to kind of figure out what it is. A lot of that is part of our overall experiences that we've allowed to seep into, or that we've actually gone through within our lives, or it could be a manifestation of what we've allowed our mind to take over with what someone has said about us. And I'm going to talk about a couple of lies that we tell ourselves here shortly, but we talk a little, your experiences are those things that dictate a lot of times how you see a certain situation, and you behave and you maneuver through that situation based on those experiences. And a lot of times, I've had my old boss say, a lot of times, Steve, it's not just your experiences, it's other people's experiences. However, I've learned something new. And this was from John Maxwell, who you will hear me talk about all the time. And John Maxwell talks about not just other people's experiences, but the evaluated experiences of other people. Get that. Please get that. The evaluated experiences. Experiences are just that in and of themselves. Even our experiences or the experiences of someone else, they're just that. There's something that we go through. But how many of us have actually evaluated our experiences to know whether or not that the outcome of that experience actually is part of who we are, or it's part of just that experience? Get that too. Because the tendency is that we will act sometimes not based off of who we are, but based off of the experience that we are currently in. Because our value system isn't strong enough. And so guess what? We will sway to whatever ebb and flow it is within that experience, because our value system isn't strong enough. Or our evaluated experiences that we haven't done the work within and of ourselves to truly understand what it is that we need to do or that we need to learn within that circumstance. And we just continue to move forward. We are the other part of that is the accepting of what others say is true about us. As a child, we have heard so many different things probably about ourselves that we wouldn't amount to anything. You're not that great, or you're super smart. You're smarter than everybody else. You're great. You're pretty. You're beautiful. All these different things as a child, and then we grow up, and guess what? Society will say something completely different to us because we haven't done the work to understand who we are. And I say this all the time. The more you know about yourself, the more you learn about yourself, the more you can say no. People don't understand that. A lot of times with these experiences, and that's what I mean, because if you know more about yourself, whenever those experiences that come up, or those situations that come up that are outside your value system, you can say no to. But a lot of times we say yes because we haven't evaluated our own experiences or our own value systems to understand who we are, so that we can say no before we move towards that. If you're following me, please say yes or something like that, just to let me know you're following me. I will appreciate that. I'm super excited about everything that we're going to cover here. It's 7:30, and we're going to continue to move forward as well. All right, so I want to talk about the 6 lies that we tell ourselves. There's probably more. There's probably more than 6. There's probably more, right? But these are the 6 that I came up with that I really wanted to talk about, because these are probably some of the most common ones. Put in the chat, put in the comments if there's a lie that you tell yourself that you want to share, because it may be on this list or it may not be on this list. What's a lie that you have told yourself over and over again that you're like, man, I don't believe that lie anymore, Steve, but man, I used to believe that lie about myself. So one of the first ones that we often say is that I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. That is probably one of the biggest ones. And here's the thing. We won't say it to anyone else. We won't say it to anyone else. Inside, we feel that in certain situations, we have to be perfect. And I'm raising my hand. And I'm raising my hand because there have been so many times I have put certain things, this live stream, not this one, but starting the process of the live stream, because I felt it had to be perfect. I had to have the right camera. I had to have the right microphone. I had to have this Rodecaster Pro. I had to make sure that my content was straight, and I didn't just start. And I eventually just started. And I eventually just started. And I think Walter Gaynor, who's in the comments, he knows that this studio, all of this stuff behind me has kind of come a long way, because initially I was I was actually on this side of the room, and it wasn't like this at all. And that was because I had just started. I said, I'm just going to do it. But for a long time, I felt that it had to be perfect. How many of you have felt that way? How many of you have felt that way? My life is harder than anyone else's. My life is harder than anyone else's. No one knows that old song, right? The struggles, whatever. I'm not a singer, right? But my life is harder than anyone else's. That's a lie that we tell ourselves. That's a lie, right? It's something that we tell ourselves so that way we don't have to try harder, or that we don't have to put the work in so that we can overcome, so that we can do something different or have or create a different outcome. Number 3, Lord have mercy. I don't know why I put number 3. I don't know why I put number 3. I know why I put number 3, because number 3 is the biggest lie that I have told myself probably throughout my entire career. Like, my worth is determined by my work. My worth is determined by my work. I've told myself that so many times, and that it is extremely, I'm a little choked up right now because I realized how much I used to tell myself that. I would get caught up in the presentation of Steve, right? Which ties into number 1. I have to be perfect. But the presentation of Steve, the work of Steve, the output of Steve determined my worth. How much I felt people thought and cared and felt about me for a long period of time, but not anymore. I'm gonna go back to 4, 5, and 6. I just want to go in the comments to see if we have anybody that wanted to share a couple of things. So excellent. Says, I'm following. I appreciate you. And then Walter is definitely following. And Anna, you following me. You're getting my mindset. I talk quick. I see things quick, and sometimes I got to make sure that I slow the ball down so that I'm bringing everybody along for the ride as well. Perfect. It will never be perfect. Just start. I mean, so Robert, that is a great point. Here's what happens when we tell people to just start, because I've had that said to me too. And I've said it to several people. So when someone told me, hey, just start, man, just start. And one of the first things that I ended up doing was I started looking at them. Well, look at you. You're already there, right? A lot of times with the person who is telling us to just start, they're kind of already there where we want to be. And that is the part that we have to guard against. So just start is just that. It's just starting regardless of where that other person is, but where you are. Just start. Figure it out. Your concept, your idea, whoever it is that you want to be as a leader, even as a leader, just lead. I tell this story all the time about my leadership journey, my seminal moment of leadership, because this was a just start moment for me in leadership, and I didn't want it. Then I was in the Air Force, and I was a squad leader, and I didn't want to be squad leader. Here's why. And here's the other thing. I'm sorry, I'm dropping a lot of things here. There are two things that I often say about leadership. You're either in leadership for the reward or the responsibility, right? The reward or the responsibility. And in that moment, I didn't want the responsibility, nor did I want the reward of being the squad leader. I was 18 years old, right out of high school, right? Still had a little bit of a, edge on me or whatever. I didn't want it at all. I wasn't even thinking about leadership. However, the squad leader saw something in me. Excuse me, not the squad leader. The training instructor saw something in me that I could galvanize people. People listened to what I had to say, and I didn't even recognize that in myself at an early age. I really didn't. And so he made me. He took me out of squad leader because I did something stupid, and he gave me this other role that was a lot bigger. And I figured out how to lead within that role. I had to just start. I was thrust into that position. And a lot of times you are thrust into that position either by someone else or by you saying to someone else, hey, this is what I want to do. And other people will hold you accountable. Don't be mad when somebody holds you accountable to something that you said that you're going to do and you don't do. Okay? Don't be mad. All right, Walter, what do you say? I need validation to do what I'm passionate about professionally. How many of us are in that boat? How many of us are in that boat? Walter, you are not alone. You're not alone. And I think there's a lot of people, a lot of professional people who are thinking about that or have thought about that. The validation of other people or what people may have to say or how they may feed into your idea, your concepts, or whatever it may be too. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. If I don't do it perfectly, it's my fault, and it won't work at all. Oh, Dana. You know, and I know Dana, so I have a little inside information, and I completely get this one, and I've seen this one in action with her. But I've seen her come out the other side of that conversation or that self-talk or that self-doubt about who she was, or about it not operating or going the way that it should have. But then guess what? She came out of the other side, and she became such a stronger leader for going through that process as well too. So thank you for sharing that. Or just do what I want to do at all. I'm just sharing that, buddy. I'm not as good as anyone thinks. Ooh, oh, okay. When will they figure it out? Dana, you are. This is supposed to be about showing up, and you are tugging at my imposter syndrome, like heartstrings right now. You are tugging at my imposter syndrome heartstrings, because I can go, and a lot of you who know me, I can go all day about imposter syndrome because I truly enjoy talking about it. I help people through that process a lot. I've helped myself through that process a lot. And Dana just hits on something. I'm not as good as anyone thinks. Maya Angelou, one of the quotes that I often share when we talk about imposter syndrome. This also, I think, deals with showing up as well. She says that I've written over 11 books, And every time I say, oh my gosh, when are they going to find out or find me out? Basically, this is the person who has shaped, the literary world with her works. And she's saying that she feels that she's going to be found out every time she writes a book. Albert Einstein, E equals MC squared. We all know that. He often talks about himself feeling like an involuntary swindler with anything and everything that he's actually created or his contributions to this world. Can you believe that? People of acclaim, they still struggle with this same comment that Dana put up. I'm not as good as anyone thinks. When will they figure it out? When will they figure it out? When will they figure it out? And then, and Anna, my worth is determined by my work. We are not determined by our work. Oh my gosh, you got that right. We are enough, and we will never be a lesser person if we can't make perfect results. I completely agree. You are enough. You are enough. You are enough. We had did a podcast, and this was before we went to Retail Leadership. The podcast was called The Worthy Podcast. It's still up there. And there's a 2-part imposter syndrome episode that I did. And it actually talks about, it's actually entitled, You Are Enough, because that is the tendency that we truly have. And so a lot of this, when we start to think about ourselves showing up, is that we sometimes don't think we are enough for the people that we're showing up to, or that people are not going to understand what we have to say. So how do we move past that? I struggle every day. I show up and raise my bar each day. I am responsible for me alone. Thank you, Robert. I struggle every day. I show up and raise my bar each day. I am responsible for me alone. Here's the thing. And I my kids often make fun of me because I don't have a lot of new sayings, or I don't have not a lot of new stories, because I'm old, and a lot of the stories that I have are really good. and I've cultivated them over the years. And so I'm going to go into this, and I apologize, and I'll move into everything else. So Robert's statement, I struggle every day. So how many of you have ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind? And please follow me on this. So it's with Russell Crowe. He plays John Nash, and he is a Nobel Peace Prize mathematician, if I'm not mistaken. But he's also a code breaker from back in, like, I want to say maybe the 40s, maybe the 50s, and things along that line. But he also has bouts with schizophrenia. So his entire life, he's been seeing voices. He actually sees 3 very distinct voices in his life. However, that doesn't prevent him from eventually, of course, becoming a Nobel Peace Prize winner, but also his work that has actually helped with code breaking, all these different things, and actually shaped math as we know it. And it's at the tail end of the movie, and the Nobel Peace Prize people are coming to him and talking to him, and they're asking him, hey, we want to give you the Nobel Peace Prize. And they're in a roundabout way, they ask him, do you still see those voices? And he says to them, I guess you just want to know if I still see those voices. And what he does, they're in the cafeteria in the university, and he looks across the cafeteria, and he sees those 3 voices that he's been dealing with his entire life. And he says, I still see them, but I choose not to acknowledge them. And I'm telling you right now, that when I saw that has shaped so much of my mindset about who I am, how I deal with imposter syndrome, how I show up, all these different things. So to Robert's comment, I struggle every day. I show up and I raise my hand each day. I'm responsible for me alone. You are going to continue to have doubts and things about yourself And even some of these lies that you're going to tell about yourself are still going to be there. However, you have to make the choice whether or not you choose to acknowledge them and make them a part of your persona and who you are and how you show up as well. These are all great points. And if I'm honest, I have owned every one of them all at some point. Agreed. And then A Beautiful Mind, great movie. Oh, great story. Thanks, Donna. I appreciate that. All right, let's go back into these last three, and I want to move into some other stuff as well too. So I can't overcome my past mistakes. I'm going to raise my hand because this is me too, or this was me. Can't overcome my past mistakes. And here's the thing about overcoming your past mistakes is because when you don't show up, what happens is that when you made those mistakes, the tendency is that when you want to do something else, you think people know about those mistakes. They don't. People don't know you like that. Right? People don't know your life like that. Some people may not. But the tendency for you to not show up or to believe something about yourself is because you think that people may know about your mistakes. And the majority of the time they don't. They don't even care. But we tell ourselves these things. Oh my gosh, they're going to remember when I failed this time. They're going to remember when I didn't do that. Or they're going to remember that. They don't. And we tell ourselves that all the time. Number 5, people aren't really supporting me. They're laughing behind my back, thinking I won't make it. I'm going to drink something here real quick. That is a real one that I know a lot of people that I've coached struggle with. And that is something that they've probably told themselves over and over again, or something that whenever we talk about coaching, right, I try my best to make sure that people understand that it's coaching isn't therapy. We do talk a little bit about your past and who you are and the things that you have probably struggled with, maybe even as a child to an adolescent and things along that line, but we don't go into all the analytical thought process of who you are. But a lot of times people are still thinking and carrying baggage from previous situations or scars within their lives that they manifest into this idea that people will not support them. And so that's where you have to do a lot more self-work. You have to really kind of dig deep to truly kind of understand who you are, to get the most out of yourself, right? To get the most out of yourself. Because we hold on to all these different things that we think people say about us, and they don't. And they don't even care. And they truly don't. And number 6, I won't be able to sustain my success. So this is the fear. We talked about one of the things I want to talk a little bit about later on down the line, not tonight, but fear of missing out, the fear of success. This is really the fear of success. I won't be able to sustain my success. So guess what? I won't even try. I'm not even going to step up to the plate. I'm not even going to do it. I won't even do that. I won't do it. And so that is a lie that we tell ourselves because we may have previously failed, or 2 things. We have seen other people in that position that we're trying to go for, and we've seen them fail. And we don't want to do it. And we don't want to do it. Right? Or our value system isn't strong enough to sustain us through that success. We don't have a good foundation. And so we tell ourselves that I won't be able to sustain the success. Well, you won't, because your value system isn't strong enough. The foundation isn't strong enough in order for you to continue to move forward successfully. And I know people define success completely different. But when you start to think about your value system and those things that you're talking about, and if you don't have that structure, guess what? You won't be able to sustain the success. The other part of this last one is because people have a warped idea of what success is. And so guess what? They're talking about sustaining success, but they're talking about sustaining that IG success, what people see on Instagram, what people see on all these other platforms or whatever it may be. I've never seen so many personal coaches, not coaches, but like personal trainers in my life, like over the last maybe 4 or 5 years since I've been on Instagram. All right. And so a lot of times they don't have a really good a fundamental understanding of what success looks like for them. And so guess what? They're trying to sustain something that they don't even have correctly defined. So your beliefs are the fundamental things that will make up everything else that we talk about, which is next, your thoughts. Your thoughts are the things that, from your beliefs to your thoughts, and then we'll talk about your actions. So your thoughts, what do you think about yourself? What do you think about yourself? Put that in that. What's something that you've thought about yourself? And this is not just the lies that we tell ourselves, but right? I've been passed over for a job. It was a promotion. I was passed over. First time in my life ever passed over. This is a while ago. Passed over. So I was pissed. I was extremely upset. Now my buddy got the job, and really like him, he got it, and we weren't really pitted. We didn't pit ourselves against each other. We weren't those type of leaders at all. Those type of leaders at all. But I didn't get the job. I knew I had the job. The thoughts that I had about myself was that I'm going to get this job, and I'm ready for it. But here's the thing that I really did, and we talked about earlier about evaluated experiences, right? What I realized was that I didn't put the work in to truly move forward like my buddy did. He did, when we talk about boiling, right? So, 211 degrees is like right here. But then guess what? You add that 1 degree, so you're at 212, and guess what? It's boiling, right? So he was boiling. I was like right at 211. Please get that. Understand that. Just that little 1%, that little 1 degree of difference between the two of us. But I thought that I was boiling. I thought that about myself until I truly evaluated myself and my thoughts. And what I thought about myself, and I realized, was that I wasn't there yet. I thought I was. So, but the beliefs that I had about myself created these thoughts that I was good. I'm going to be able to do this. I was living off of past experiences, past successes, all these different things. Thought that I could be able to move into this new realm, and I wasn't able to, and I got passed over. So what are these things that you think about yourself? What are the thoughts that you have? I'm going to go into the chats here real quick, just into the comments. Not a lot here, but appreciate that. Thanks, Chris. This man is talking the truth. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Chris. If you haven't checked Chris's page out yet, he does a lot with cryptocurrency. I mean, this dude is talking to people all over the world all the time. Super smart guy. Just go ahead and check out his stuff as well. Amazing guy. And Robert, number 7, all 6 have been true, but I have a voice and a vision with intention. And at the end of the day, I'm leaving nothing on the table. How many of you can say that? Leaving nothing on the table. I got to star that one, man. That's a good one, man. Leaving nothing on the table. How many of you are doing that? So what are you thinking about yourself? What are you doing? What are you thinking? Let's talk about a little bit about what thoughts are. The mental cognitions, our ideas, our opinions, and beliefs about ourselves, and the world around us. They indulge the perspectives we bring to any situation or experience that color our point of view, for better, for worse, or for neutral, right? What are your thoughts? All right, the age-old question for me, just what are your thoughts? I think Michael Jordan is the best player ever. Other people think LeBron James is. That's my thought. But my thoughts are our makeup of my mental cognition, my ideas, me growing up in the 80s and the 90s and seeing Mike and all these other things. I firmly believe without a doubt that he is the best player ever. Period, hands down. Other people will think completely different. But what do you think about yourself? What are those thoughts that drive you to think about something? You have to think about it. Pastor Philip Davis, may he rest in peace. When I left New York and I moved down to Charlotte, he gave me my first leadership book, and it was called John Maxwell, Developing a Leader Within You. My very first leadership book, and he talked about your thought life, and he talked about as a young man just coming down from New York. He said, Steve, you should have like pre-thoughts. I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Meaning that you should already have, what you're going to decide if a situation presents itself. So, and I'll just use this as an example, and I apologize, but as a young single man at the time, he was really talking about relationships. And he said, so what are you going to do if you're put in this situation? And I was like, well, I'm not sure. He said, you should already have a pre-thought. You should already, basically what he's saying is that you should already have a value system that is going to drive your thought life, the things that you think about, the beliefs that you have about yourself, and the things that you think about. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so I didn't get that initially. I was 26, maybe 25, 26 at the time. I didn't get that as a young man. But then as I got older, I started to think about it, and I realized he's 100% right. What do you do when you're in those situations? You should already have a thought about what you're going to do. And as a leader, I have crafted. So when I say that I think quick and I'm fast and I can see things very quickly, it's because of that principle that he cultivated me 20 some odd years ago about having a pre-thought. And so a lot of times I'm already thinking, just like chess, 4 or 5 steps ahead about where this conversation with a person is going to go. And now I have to bring myself back to slow the ball down to, one, see if it's going to go in that direction. And if it doesn't, I have the ability to be able to pivot because I've already thought through all the scenarios. No, that's horrible, right? That's kind of bad to think about sometimes. When you start to think, when you're in a conversation, my wife hates it because I'm already, and it's like quick and I'm there. And she's just like, stop. Right? It's horrible. And so how are you thinking about yourself? How are you thinking about your thought life? And what are the thoughts that you're actually telling yourself? So your thoughts, your beliefs beget your thoughts, right? And then your thoughts beget your actions. Your thoughts beget your actions. But there's a difference between words versus actions. It's a massive difference. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here, right, real quick. I just want to make sure I connect with everybody as well. So, Walter, I'm thinking that I need to sit down and reevaluate my perspective and the way I approach new tasks. What do you mean? What are your thoughts? Why do you feel you need to do that, Walter? I'll be interested to know about that. But that's a good. I'm glad it's this conversation is causing you to kind of think a little bit, because that's 100% my goal. 100% my goal. 100% my goal. We are old, and Michael J is always going to be our GOAT. You're right. I want to say something else. You're 100% right. 100% right, man. So our actions, and I'm gone over my time. I apologize. I love this stuff, and I could talk all day about it. So our actions, man. What is that thing that we do? Right? What is it? What are the things that we do? So our words, can we just talk about our words for a second? Because here's the thing. We talked about showing up. We talked the grand idea, what we're talking about is showing up. A lot of times we'll say something, and I think I said it earlier, about putting something out there in the universe and expecting it to happen or expecting people to hold us accountable for it. So what I wrote down is words, spoken gestures of intent. That's it. They're spoken gestures or thoughts or things that we think of or that we intend to do. So just saying something doesn't mean that you're actually going to do it. It doesn't. It's a start. It's a start. Don't get me wrong, right? Saying something, your words and what you want to put out there, it's 100% a start, but it is not the end all be all. And I think we get caught up in what we want to say and what we want to present to people, what we want to put out there. But the actions are 100% the ticket. I said this all the time. Hated when you said, it's all about your actions, not about what you say, it's about what you do. About what you do. My dad said that too as a kid, growing up. Stop saying what you're going to do and do it. Right? We say that probably now to our kids. Saying that to our kids, right? What is it that you're going to do? So your actions. And I researched this and I thought about this a lot. And I love the word it says events. It's events performed for a purpose. There's intent. There is intent. But it's an event. Think about that. It's an action is a moment in time. An event is a moment in time. Right? So an event, my first concert, it's not up here, but it's behind this. But my very first concert, my very first event was the Beastie Boys concert when I was 16 years old. So that was a massive event. I spoke about it a lot, and I said I wanted to go. That was my words. Kept saying I wanted to go. I ended up going. My actions, I got my sister to give me and my friend Dave a ride, and we went to the event, and we were there. So we spoke about it, but then we actually did some actions. So it's an event. It's a moment in time. What are you doing? How are your actions lining up? How are your actions lining up with your words, with your beliefs, with your thoughts, and with really who you are? How are they lining up? Do you think your words are your actions? Because they're not. They're not. They're different. And the more we understand how important our actions are compared to what it is that we just say, the better off we'll be. And our ability to show up becomes a lot different. Just want to make sure I go through this as well. I just want to make sure, Mike, he already said that, Mike. I use my creativity to tell the world who I am rather than allowing society to see me as a perceived disabled person. I agreed. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And Walter says, I think, I'm going to put this down a little bit. Then since we're live, I can do this live right now. It says, I think that I can do a better job at creating space and time for me to focus strictly on doing the task I keep thinking I'm not good enough or not ready to do. Man, Walt, you just hit on something, right? And I think the doing part, because man, we could talk all day long about what we want to do, about what we need to do, about what other people should do, but what are we doing? How are we executing it? Are we not executing it? Right? Because we can talk all day long. I'm just speaking from experience, right? But how much are we strictly focused in on the doing of that action, of our beliefs, of our thoughts, and and the thing that we've came up with, and then the action associated with that. And thank you, Anna. It's to start with what you do. Just do it. And I 100% agree. Thank you. Yes, Beastie Boys. Mine was George Clinton and P Folks. I'm so old. You're not that old. You're not that old, buddy. You're not that old. So your actions. The idea about your actions, and I'm gonna close here in very, very shortly, because we have a saying, and I don't know where I got this from, but I agree with it 100%. I agree with it 100%. Your beliefs are the foundational part of showing up. What do you believe about yourself? How are those beliefs, or that belief system that you've created or cultivated, manifesting itself into your thought life? And your thoughts are moving themselves into your actions and what it is that you should do and that you shouldn't do. But your belief systems is that value system, that structure that you have to create, that you have to spend time. Just like what I talked about when we coach people and we talk about the gap analysis, because I go and talk about the gym approach, but we talk about your current state, where you currently are. It doesn't matter. Here's the thing. Your actions doesn't matter what those actions are, because if you're not structured here at the very beginning and understand what you stand for, it doesn't matter where you want to go. Just like when you want to take a trip, you take a map, right? And you want to go somewhere. You want to go to New York. Great that you want to go to New York, but where are you right now as it relates to New York? So, same thing in your life. Your actions are the byproduct of your thoughts and your beliefs. But we don't spend enough time developing our belief system, our structures, value system, in order to get the right corresponding actions in our life. And I say this because I really want people to understand the core of being a leader, the core of being retail leader, the core of whatever it is that we coach with our clients and we talk to our clients. And we firmly believe this, is that authenticity has no competition. It absolutely has no competition. For who you are in your life and what is it that you want to do, it absolutely has no competition. How authentic are you in your life? How authentic are you right now? Your beliefs, your thoughts, everything about yourself. Authenticity has no competition. If you are authentic, you can show up with ease, and people will listen to you. People will hear what you have to say because your authenticity will exude itself. People will truly understand who you are because you are being your authentic self. If you're not being your authentic self, no one's going to want to listen to it. People can feel it and hear it a mile away. So when we start talking about showing up is at the end of the day about being authentic and being your authentic self and who you are and who you want people to see. Not who people think that you should be. It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about your value system, your structure, and who you are and who you want other people to understand who you are. So I'm truly, truly hope that you all were able to get something out of tonight, our conversation, everything that we were able to discuss from a 2X identity standpoint and the 3 keys to showing up. Please, if you have the opportunity, go ahead and visit us at YouTube at Steve Worthy. Also, if you're so inclined, you can go into our Facebook group. It's Worthy RETAIU. You can invite yourself, or if you know so, if you're already part of that Facebook group, you can go ahead and invite someone else to be part of that Facebook group. And lastly, if you are interested in anything that we have to offer from a Worthy Retail You standpoint, that could be our articles, our podcasts that we air every week. Please go ahead and go to worthyretailyou.com/now, and that'll take you to a page that's actually pretty much like a landing page, and it'll show you everything that we have to offer, articles and all these different resources. And also we have courses that are going to be coming up that we're in the process of developing that I'm super, super stoked about. We are trying to not just develop courses for the development's sake, right? You know, a lot of people develop courses, and I have a course and I have this course, right? Not knocking people who have a course. I'm just saying that what we try to do and what we want to put out there, we feel it, we want it to be different, and we want it to be something that is going to really impact you, not just for now, but for the long haul, and for those people that are around you. Because at the end of the day, leadership is not about you. It's not. It's about all the people that you lead and your impact on their life and what you can do. So as we always say, have a great day. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless. Uh-huh.